My name's Paige Allenson. I'm actually a born and bred New Yorker who was a Wall Street consultant for quite a number of years at Capgemini Ernst & Young when I found out that I had a tumor in my shoulder and I didn't know if it was cancer. And it was right underneath my scapula, so I wasn't going to be able to find out. And someone said, well, why don't you try yoga? And I was like, that sounds boring. That's like sleeping on the floor. Those of you that attended yoga this morning know that it is not sleeping on the floor. My Kenyan teachers worked us pretty hard. But right away, I found out that yoga gave me a sense of strength, of peace, of feeling more excited about my life and my job. And I quickly transitioned, quitting Wall Street and becoming a yoga teacher. And I think as many of us in the nonprofit field following our passions, we've had the space and room to choose our jobs. When I went to East Africa to volunteer to teach yoga in 2008, I realized that there was an 80% youth unemployment rate, and at the same time, people in East Africa were finding out that I was a yoga teacher and wanting to hire me at the UN, at gyms, at yoga vacation spots to teach them yoga. Quickly, I was making as much money in Kenya teaching yoga as I was in New York. And there's an 80% youth unemployment rate. This is crazy. So we decided to train yoga teachers that were actually from the slums. And what was this tiny little project has turned into a movement. We've trained over 200 teachers that are teaching 250,000 people a year free yoga, increasing health and wellness, empowerment, in the most vulnerable, marginalized areas. And at the same time, those 200 people are earning as much as $1,000 a month teaching yoga to actually, the other day we taught yoga to 5,000 people on International Yoga Day, where the president of Kenya's wife, our first lady, came up and said that she takes yoga with our teachers. With a girl that was a prostitute from the slums, is now teaching yoga to the president's wife.
Wow. That's great. Thank you, Michael.
But my name is Michael, and I am the CEO of Tugende. We work with motorcycle taxi drivers in Uganda, helping them own their own motorcycles instead of rent. And I came to this by way of being a journalist in Uganda, loving motorcycle taxis because I didn't like being stuck in traffic, and just getting to know the drivers on a personal level. And when I found out that most of them were renting the key tool they used to make money forever, it was obvious that they should have the opportunity to own it. And this wasn't some top-down, like, genius, like, business plan that we came up with. One of my favorite drivers was able to own his own bike because another friend helped him out. And it was by seeing the way he invested his gains from ownership. He took me to meet his mom and show me the house he built for her after paying off his own motorcycle. That I was like, okay, cool, like, can I finance a motorcycle? You know, can I help, you know, with the next one? Do you have friends who want this? And so we started organically, in a way, designing something around what people were already doing and what they wanted, you know, rather than inventing a new widget, making a business plan and selling it top down. So our ethos is really that everyone deserves a chance. Not everybody's going to be able to take advantage of it, but far more people will than I think a lot of the kind of gatekeepers, and so in our case the banks, think. And also, motorcycle taxi driving is one of the best opportunities available for young men in East Africa, especially who didn't finish school. So we don't want that to be a permanent career, but we want to help the people who are doing it because it's the best option in front of them, take home more money and plan for a better future. So we, just in terms of the livelihoods and the youth thing, we really just want to, you know, think bottom up in the way that so many other great organizations are here, you know, and address the reality we're dealing with and make the change that our customers want. So that's where we're coming from.
That's great. Thank you, Michael. Ange.
Hi everyone, I'm Ange from Burundi, and I'm the founder of Kaz'O'Zar, which is a social enterprise that recruits small artisans, and we train them in modernly designed craft. And that basically, that idea came to me as I returned to Burundi. I was living in England, where I went as a refugee, and I lived there for 10 years, and I was really privileged to work for some of the prestigious fashion houses in London. And I love art and I love fashion. And then when I returned to Burundi, I was really shocked to see the level of poverty there and the level of unemployment and how things were really stagnant. So I really wanted to contribute to the experience that I had gained, and I went in the field that I felt very comfortable in, which was the field of crafts. And that actually started from, it was because the first business that I had was in tourism, and I would always have a problem helping my tourist clients to find good souvenirs to buy. So, you know, items that would not be outdated and which didn't make sense. So I would go to artisans and I would ask them to make things that I knew would be appealing to my clients, and then we'll just go, you know, pretending that I had nothing to do with that, and you know, so I was really happy that my clients will find something to buy. And so the story basically of how these artisans, I got connected to so many of them, will be that they'll keep on coming for more, and also having their friends come to ask me for some designs and also for some connections and markets. And I spent so much time in that and realized that there was a potential in business, number one, and also in educating these artisans in doing things that they would be proud of. So I would say that today, arts and craft has become now an industry in Burundi. Something that was really boring, had no interest, you know, from anyone. And I would also proudly say that we have been nominated, myself as among the 50 influential people in Burundi, because I went on I took the choice of taking the craftsmanship as a tool of creating employment and really increasing the lives of the artisans. So they've increased their income by 50%, and this started with 4 artisans, but in 3 years we are 135, and we're growing even more.
That's fantastic. And are you wearing anything that's been made by your artisans?
Yes, so this has been made, the dress has been made by tailors, the jewelry has been also made by us, and everything is locally sourced, 100%. So it's accessible and it's very sustainable. And
so I am Kaz'O'Zar, where I live in Tanzania. We focus specifically on the Kilimanjaro region, where we see that social enterprise is one of the most effective answers to the many problems that exist for people and communities in that region. So that's why we're focused specifically on helping people start social enterprises. So these are social enterprises, on one hand, that are, they specifically exist to provide products and services that improve people's lives. And on the other side, we realize that we're working in an environment, a part of East Africa and Tanzania, that lacks an entrepreneurial ecosystem. So for that, we're working very, very grassroots with unemployed youth and working to help them start their own livelihoods through a basic entrepreneurship training and mentorship program as well.
And what kinds of things are they doing?
So on the grassroots level, the main businesses that these youth are doing is in their rural communities. So we have piggery, onion farming, vanilla farming, paper making, and then on our other side of businesses, these are businesses that exist to provide services that can improve people's lives. So reusable sanitary pads, distribution of health products. We have a waste management and recycling enterprise. We are talking to some entrepreneurs now that are looking to explore earth bag building as a solution for more affordable housing. So these are businesses that are providing a service. So there are 2 different types of or stages of enterprises, both of which are very important to support to create a thriving ecosystem for enterprises in the region.
That's great. Thank you, Krupa. So you've got a lot of self-employment and entrepreneurship, and you're also those starting businesses yourself if they're needed and don't exist. Is that right?
Yes. So we take a very place-based approach. So we're working just within the Kilimanjaro region, where we want to be bringing the right social enterprises to serve a range of entrepreneurs with their own ideas and their own businesses. We also realize that sometimes there lacks a champion for a specific cause. So that's where we will wear the entrepreneurship or the social entrepreneur hat as ANZA. And we'll actually start a social business around a specific need area. So for example, Eco, which is the waste management and recycling business. So this is an example of where we will take the initiative to build a social enterprise around a need area that we see there's lack of attention.
So I don't know, you shared a lot about yourself, but not really some deeply personal things. So I want to encourage you, like, how does a African woman go to Harvard and Stanford, and now what's this burden feeling like as you're trying to create employment for 40 million unemployed, underemployed youth feel like, and those low lows and high highs, and what is the strategy in terms of getting wage employment? You know, where do you see the breakthroughs of your model?
Sure. So I think in terms of how I fell into this, I'd always been bothered by the questions of inequality and the accidental birth that happens to every one of us, 6 billion in the world. From having first cousins who didn't have the opportunity to go to the same sort of private Catholic school that I went to that completely changed my trajectory of what I thought I was capable of doing. And I remember awkward, like, Christmas holidays, being back at home and not really being able to have lots of conversations about all the cool things that I now wanted to do and become, because the realities of immediate family members were quite different just because of that opportunity. So for me, opportunity had always been a very important thought. What happens and how it changes people's trajectories. So in college, I set up a nonprofit organization with my sister and a couple of other friends, just focused on getting young people in high school and in universities to start thinking about what they could do today to maximize their opportunities for tomorrow. So everything from how do you get an internship while you're in high school, how do you focus on learning a second language so you can be a translator at a conference one summer, how do you do extracurricular activities quite seriously, like a debate club, because guess what, in the rest of the world it's not okay to have A's anymore, you kind of need to have some other skill sets. And realizing that with all this knowledge, people were still being shortchanged by the education system. They would graduate from school and still couldn't get a job, either because they didn't have a degree from the right school or they didn't have a degree at all. And so realizing that on any given day, and this was when I moved back to Nigeria, after I had worked in consulting for a few years, I moved back to Nigeria and was working at a public policy think tank, trying to help set it up. And very quickly my job became HR, because we couldn't find any research analyst. And that became a barrier to growth for, you know, public policy think tank. So realizing that these interests that I had around opportunity and education and access were not minor things for do-gooders to feel and talk about in social circles, but were actually critical to everything, the underpinnings of society. I would go to business school and challenge all my classmates. Yeah, you want to set up a private equity fund in Africa, but who's going to work in the companies? On any given day, I have an inbox filled with friends who can't find good people, team members, staff, and I have students who are looking for jobs. So I knew that there was some sort of a mismatch that was going on. People were not being trained in the skills that employers care about. Training providers were talking about numbers trained and outputs, but not about outcomes. Every school should be judged on whether they're placing people in jobs or in self-employment. What's the income transformation that happens at the end of this program? Not just, oh, we've trained X number of people. So for us, it was very important that this wasn't just training for training's sake, it was training linked to jobs. Fortunately, unfortunately, chose to start in Nigeria, which is where I grew up, where I'm from. In my head, the most difficult market to execute in because of corruption and all the other underpinnings of it. But turns out, oddly enough, one of the best places to start is because it's the largest economy. So on any given day, there are jobs being created, as much as we say they're not enough. The jobs that are being created, people are tearing their hair out because they can't find good people. And so one day, one of our funders sat across the table from me and said, you know what you are is a human capital evangelist, so it's not my term. But the idea that you are trying to change the expectations, asymmetric expectations, another term I stole from James Nardell, around what young people expect of the workplace and what employers are looking for, and what training providers are therefore incentivized to deliver to people. And so when I think about our work at WAVE, beyond just training and placing people in jobs, there gets to a point where you realize you can't do the 40 million on your own. What are the big system failures that you need to now work with the powers that be, that scale things, to do? So is it access to finance? Is it incentives to make sure training organizations are training in skills that employers care about and are focusing on outcomes like job placement and employment rates? Or is it the coordination failure that happens with employers not knowing how to validate a young person beyond a degree? So when you see a job description that says the only requirement is for you to have a degree, that's worrying. Because that employer is flustered and they don't know what else to do, but that's their own proxy for whether someone is able to learn and adapt on a job.
That's really fascinating, because when you look at a systems change approach and you say, all right, we all need work for self-expression and making a living, and we've got these huge mismatches between the employer demand or the needs of the community and the supply, that means our job collectively is the reinvention of work, of education, of that experience. And so what we have in your examples are really powerful. I hope people are seeing and connecting the dots and the patterns here. But, you know, Paige, you left this privileged world in 2007, right? And you have an incredible vision around the health and wellness industry. I mean, what's the vision of success look like?
The unfortunate part is our vision of success comes from one of our most critical problems of the world, which is more and more people are dying in America, all over the world, from preventative chronic disease. Diseases we're finding in Africa, it's the second biggest killer is chronic disease. Diseases that quite easily can be impacted by a different diet and different set of exercise and lifestyle. And so as that pattern emerges, all of us sitting in this room and in Africa, the whole economic ecosystem, are going to be looked towards what's next that's going to keep us healthy. You know, what habits are we going to take up? What different foods are we going to eat? What's going to make me feel good? And we're all on this constant quest to feel great. And for me, yoga does it for me. And I know a $27 billion industry in America will say it does it for a lot of Americans. And every other continent seems to be catching on except Africa. So what success looks like for me is that it's young people that are realizing that they can be leaders and catalysts in solving a problem, in helping people feel good in their bodies and in their lives. And if we can create a $5 billion industry in Africa where young people are the first to market, where they're the first to enter this very emerging, fun, fulfilling market, that's success for me.
Wow, that's beautiful. And to have them be the lead. I mean, it's also what Ms. Ann was talking about in terms of equality and inequality barriers, where, I mean, yoga is kind of like white privileged, you know, rich people's kind of thing, right?
Not in Kenya.
Not in Kenya. Not in Kenya. Not in your vision, which I find that's what makes it a disruptive idea. Also, when we look at it from the point of view of inequality, as well as just the scale of the money-making industry potential. Now, Michael, you're all about moving too. And getting to and from a place is again another core part of what people need. But what does success really look like in your vision? And you know, you talked to me about health issues, safety issues, about other things too. So,
sure. Well, part of our model is training, encouraging safety on the roads, because millions of passengers are getting on the back of a stranger's motorcycle every day, and we want, you know, that not to be catastrophic. But when we think about success, I think about, you know, bottom-up economic transformation. It's really so much fun and inspiring to be, you know, on a panel with other people where all of our efforts are complementary. economic transformation in Africa needs top-down approaches. There need to be more factories, there need to be more call centers. It needs kind of the middle sector approach, like Missen, where you train people to become more productive in the jobs that are available. But then you also need the bottom-up approach. People who can't get hired and are creating their own opportunities should be able to move the needle more for themselves, their household, and their community. So what we want is to amplify the impact from that bottom-up approach, where self-employed entrepreneurs, first of all, have the dignity and stability of owning the tool that they use to make money, and second of all, get to take home more of the profits from the risk and the effort that they are putting in, because they're going to invest those gains locally in a way that is improving the economy and can have a massively transformative effect on the economy of all these countries from the bottom up, even while you still want Microsoft to build a data center from the top at the same time. So success for us is empowering the bottom up economic change.
It's beautiful. And in fact, beautiful is part of your vision, isn't it, Ansh?
Yes, really what I would say that success, what I see success is to see craft or art become really an industry. And well, probably this is something that's not, in other countries it has happened where a lot of money come in and you see really like a big value chain that is in that sector, but it's not the case in Burundi. And I saw that, yes, I've been talking about that value chain. We've hired people who are web designers or accountants or those that do communication. So people who are educated and who are looking for a job and would have never thought that that could be an industry, And it's really the joy to see that we can really answer to the need of having, we have 45% of our population is unemployed. So to see that we are bringing on the table another avenue, another basket where jobs can be found and money can be made and people can feel proud at what we have at work. We have illiterate people working with literate and educated people, and everyone respects their part and their contribution and their job. It's really beautiful. And yeah, so you find that we all need one another, and it's that complementarity that's necessary. And I will go also by saying that our team, so the management team is also very young. And I like the fact that we found solutions, it's young people that found solutions to the older generation, because most of our artisans are a bit more older. I was talking with someone and they told me how they went in a youth conference. And in that youth conference, they asked how many people are young, and everyone stood up. And then the person just asked how many people are 70 years. Some, I think there were people that stood up, 60 years, others stood up, 50, others stood up. And short story, they found that it was only 2 people that were 30 in a youth conference, And that is, I think, the problem of what Humphrey was talking about this morning, where you find that you are in a generation where you're not given a voice. They'll tell you, okay, no, you are young, you don't have a solution, and you can't make something, you can't make something work. And I think that if young people are given a platform or a chance to try out something, an idea, a vision that they have, and really put it on the table and see the success of it, it's amazing. And that's, again, what I will say, I think, lastly, to thank this organization, to thank Segal Family Foundation that was looking, when they came in Burundi, they were looking for young people who had great ideas. They listened to us. I was so impressed. I remember Ash, Andy, when they came, listening to what we were talking about, think that even my own family actually put me down on my ideas. When I was in England, I did interpreting. And when I returned to Burundi, I had a chance to make a good career and make good money as an interpreter. But that was boring to me. And I like art and craft, and I saw the potential. I saw that artisans are skilled, they work hard, but they don't make good revenues because they don't have, good ideas of what to make. And I chose to go on that path. And people told me, you are educated, you went to England, you have all this potential. Why are you wasting your time with illiterate people? But these illiterate people work hard. Which is really the essence of what we want in employment. And they've been told that, you want to be a good tailor, keep your appointment. If you said that you're going to make this dress at this time, do it at that particular time. And they saw the value of just being told and being just given information or told about what to do right. They saw the success of it. So that's really what I would say, the easy success. Success is there. There are people out there who want to work if they are only given a chance and being supported.
So great. So many people who get the shot to go to another country, as you did, don't come back. And your country's in suffering again, a lot of conflict and pain. And your vision of where art and handmade products come in, I think, just gives us, that electric current. Yeah, thank you for sharing it, Anja. You also did the pilgrimage away and then returning. What does success look like?
So I would say a young generation in Tanzania that have both the ambition and the ability to be able to start and sustain their own enterprises. And the enterprise isn't the end. This is a means for them to be active citizens and community members within their areas. So a story that often comes to mind is one of our young entrepreneurs called Emmanuel, and he was part of our entrepreneurship program. He would always come to our sessions bright-eyed. He would engage with our mentors. He started his own onion farm, which is great. And he's now earning a sustainable income that is supporting him. But more than that, he really gained the confidence in himself to say, yeah, I'm actually a valuable member of this community. And he's now actually, he ran and has joined the village council. And further than that, he's now part of the ward council, which is in Tanzania one level up from it's a cluster of villages. And previously, within this community, these youth didn't even used to attend those council meetings, although definitely not the ward council meetings. So it's also the transformation in their own vision of success. Of what they're capable of and how they want to interact within their own communities. So I would say, yeah, the vision of success is a thriving young population within Tanzania that are not only supported and sustained through their own livelihoods, but are driving change within their own areas as well.
Ms. Ann, you've shared a lot about a large systems change approach. What would it look like for not just Nigeria, because you've got West Africa in your name, West Africa Vocational Education Wave, so it sounds like the intention was quite large, right? So what does that look like?
So what I found is a lot of young people, any young person, 2/3 of the young people that walk in our door want to be an entrepreneur at some point.
2/3?
Yeah, they'll tell you, where do you see? Probably more 80%. 2/3 have done some sort of a micro. I've sold hair, I've sold diesel, I've sold clothes. They've done some sort of micro thing before to get them and sustain them to this point. That's part of the resilience we're looking for. Like, what have you been doing while you've been unemployed?
So they're not really unemployed. Right?
Yeah, they're micro entrepreneurs. They're hustling. You need food on the table, so you have to hustle. And they want to eventually get to this place where they are the own agents of their own destiny. And most of them will tell you they know, most young people will tell you they know Bill Gates, they know Mark Zuckerberg when they think about entrepreneurs and success, yes. And if they're rural, they may not know Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, but they'll know a guy called Alhaji Dangote, who's the richest black man in the world, and he's Nigerian. And what encourages us about these stories, for better or worse, is that these guys didn't go to college. So when I tell our students, they all think they did. They all think, oh, yeah, they went to, they're like, what? You mean they didn't go to college? All of a sudden they start to see themselves like, oh, that could be me. I have the potential to one day do that. Now, what do I need to get there? I need to have the skills. I need to have the income that says I'm not worried about where my next meal is coming from. And I need to have the mindset that I can actually effect change. And so these are what we try to equip young people with. And this is global. This is not Nigerian. It's not West African. It's not unique in any form. Young people
Sounds like Gary Segal.
Young people need the skills, they need the income, and they need the mindset that says, I can go off, make a difference in my life, how I solve problems, how I do that in the workplace, how I do that in my community, and how I change entire continents. And even if it's just that 1 to 5%, who go off and do what people like Francoise, who won the award yesterday, did, who says, I worked for 9 years as a nurse, I'm now ready to go off and solve a problem that I see in my community. That's end game for us.
So the wave really is global. That's beautiful.